We will start with the first poet tonight.
First reader, we don't know there's a...
Oh, the first reader.
Or singer, or... Are you going to pick?
And we are picking.
Sherrie Williams.
Who let the dogs out?
Sherrie!
Who? Sherrie.
Well, we can leave it here and so they can see it as they're reading. That's a good idea. This way they kind of get an idea of
When's the clock start?
starting.
It's already started?
Yep.
Yeah, you already wasted 5 seconds of my time. Thank you. Most everybody, if you've been here before, you know who I am. I'm Sherrie. I've been with the group since their first meeting, and I'm the designated gratis photographer for the group. So it always works out to be the first one or the last one up, so I'm not having to stop my photography mojo to get up here and read. But I started out as the reader. I brought my camera, and that's all she wrote. Now I'm the photographer. What am I going to read tonight? Let's see. I think the first thing I'm going to read, I haven't read this in a while, and it's an article. Well, for those who don't know anything about me, the new people, I'm 42, I have 4 children, including a set of twin girls. My youngest son, Justin, was learning disabled, full-blown HDAD. I just call that an extraness of spirit, but they like to call it a disorder now. People on drugs for it. I've got it, and I'm happy to have it. I have a better life for it. But anyway, the school system likes to think there's something wrong with children that got a little bit too much passion, like my son. I call it the creative genius in a person. Most people that are artistic or creative in any way whatsoever would probably be considered HDAD. I call it a gift. That's what I think it is anyway. But anyway, I got tired of my son, who was an artist and is now playing music, and at 8 knew more about paleontology and archaeology and stones and rocks than most people their whole life will ever know. This is the child I would take to the river that would pick up rocks and tell you what kind of rock it was and what bird was in the tree singing that nobody else could hear, because he was actually paying attention to what was going on. So after several years of battling the school system, and every time I would enroll him in the next year, within a day they're like, oh, your son has HDAD, and you consider putting him home with Ritalin. Well, I already went through this with his brother ahead of him, who was also extremely artistic and talented. Go figure that. And I said, you know what? I just did this, talk to the hand. I said, there's nothing wrong with my child. God don't make broke people, and he's just fine the way he is, and he's like this for a reason. And I'm not drugging my child's creative genius out of him because you want to drug children to equal complacency in the school system. So, I used to be a reporter in Tennessee, up in Seymour. If y'all ever heard of that, I work for a newspaper up there, and I've been a reporter off and on my whole life. I've either been a freelance columnist, contributing editorial writer in various publications. I've been writing since Chapstick on the Wall at 2. I got in trouble for that a lot. But anyway, that was my first writing experience, was on the walls of my house. I drew a beautiful poem all over the wall. I got the worst whipping of my life. It was worth it. And this is an article that I wrote about my son. I said, you know what, I'm done. I took broadcast regulations in college. I know the power of the press. The FCC is the press, and they are the government. Nobody gets past the FCC. Nobody. And knowing the power of the press to reach people, I decided I was going to write an article about my battles with the school system and my beautiful child. And I wrote this article, and I submitted it to the local paper in Seneca, South Carolina. They published it on the front page. The day after I submitted it, it hit the paper. Then I sent it to my mom, and it went into Abbeville, South Carolina's paper. Then I sent it to my grandmother in my hometown of Albemarle, North Carolina, and they put it in their paper. And then I sent it to my brother in Amelia Island, Florida, and they put it into their paper. Obviously, I hit a nerve. And this is what I wrote. And I wrote this. It was published in 4 different newspapers. I believe the original publishing date was February 12th, 2002. My son would have been 7 then. I had had enough. And it's called Leaving Some Wild in Your Child. It's the name of this. It is another day in my household. It is a full life, full of love, laughter, energy, and passion. It is also a challenging life thanks to the gift of my 8-year-old ADHD son, Justin, who I happily can say is personally responsible for 50% of the love and laughter and at least 85% responsible for the energy and passion that infuses my home and my life. My little volcano of seething human emotion never sets his sails at half-mast. No, instead, he braves the tempest of the hurricane inside his 65-pound body, sails unfurled, and with all the bravado of BLUEBIRD himself. His chubby, freckled face is always set in a state of intense purpose, as if driven by forces beyond our understanding or control. His turquoise blue eyes sparkle with the passion that drives his every thought, emotion, and mood. His mouth is always set somewhere between a precocious grin and the grim determination to fight the next battle. When he smiles at you, as many a teacher can attest, you find yourself in the presence of a light so bright coming from his eyes it is enough to blind you, and you haven't been hugged until this little Don Juan enfolds you in a hug so strong and true you feel yourself grasping and gasping for air. This is the light of my life that if the pressures that be, and society as a whole had their way, would be dimmed or exterminated, all in the name of equal complacency and efficiency. For one brief month, I allowed this beautiful flame to have its light dimmed, and for one brief month, so did the life within my home. Yes, I am among the multitude of parents out there who are milled around like cattle through pens in the maze of physicians, psychiatrists, and counselors to find the appropriate therapy and tranquilizer to calm their wayward offspring. And yes, for 1 month, I allowed myself and my son to be reined in. Well, no more. I plan on bucking and rearing right alongside my little Bronco who refuses to be broken. Mountains cannot be climbed by the meek and slight of spirit. No war battle was ever won by the complacent. No change is ever brought about by the conformists. And no fire in the soul of man was ever lit without the flame of passion. My husband, I wasn't married at the time, and my other 3 children have been often unwilling participants in this battle for my son's spirit. But they all remain steadfast that despite the enormous strain on them and myself, they prefer that Justin be left just the way he is. With the help of enormous emotional support from them and my family, and the stringent and loving instruction of their sensei in Taekwondo, and my own God-given gifts of grit and determination, thanks to my own ADHD, my son and I will brave the stormy seas of his extraness of spirit, and we will reach our destined port safely, though a little weathered. Watching my son struggles with this creature called ADHD and a learning disability in the area of reading and language, I am reminded of a tiger I once saw in a zoo. He was a magnificent animal, wild and unrestrained within himself, but bristling with pent-up hostility and frustration at the society that sought to cage him in for the purpose of safely observing him. He paces the confines of his cage, where the full glory of his speed and power could never be reached or observed. Why would someone take something so beautiful and so wild and then force it to live or exist to be only half of what it was intended to be? In the jungle, his energy and power becomes a focused thing and he becomes driven by the very jungle that we ourselves dare not set foot in because we lack the understanding and strength to survive there. Well, I do not, and neither does my son. I refuse to let the tiger and either one of us be caged and conformed. Together we will become focused, stronger, and driven to fulfill our purpose here. And I see now that whatever that purpose is, it will never be reached with either one of us allowing the tempest inside to be molded and suppressed into the calm that so many others understand and are comfortable with. Justin and I refuse to stay in the comfort zone because everyone else is afraid to step out of his or hers. My son will adapt and overcome. He will learn and succeed in school and in life, and he will do it all through my drug of choice, the power of the human spirit, of which he has ample supply. You must fight fire with fire and energy with energy. The school system is no longer equipped to do this, and I will no longer expect from them what they do not have to give. And that is okay because I am in no short supply of either, and I am sure that it is no accident that a child like Justin was given to a person like me. It is going to take a warrior in her own right in this day and age of spirit squelching and downsizing to fight for the spirit of another. And I thank God for the powers that be every day, for the ADHD gifts that I have been given to fight this battle for my child as my mother did for me. I am more than a mother. I am the guardian of 4 precious little spirits, and I'm the warrior who will see them through this journey called life. that has become the battle for the dignity of the human spirit. I don't even know where I was.
I'll tell you, Sherrie, that's the most powerful thing you've written, and I've heard you read a lot of powerful.
Well, I read it the first time, January, the very first meeting. I have creative writing, as anyone here well knows. I write creative stuff. I write stories. I write everything. But that was something I felt led to read tonight.